Growing up, I always gravitated towards the edgier games. The ones with hooded protagonists and sharp blades, brooding in the box art on the cover. Games with stories involving dark conspiracies and hidden organizations set in post-apocalyptic worlds. This is what spoke to me, and to a certain degree, it still shapes what I look for in video games. Which is why it's weird I've never played Hollow Knight before. I can think of a few reasons why that might have been. 2D platformers just never appealed to me. My platforming love began with Super Mario 64 and continued with Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter. Going backwards in that evolution, it didn't really make sense to me. It could also be that I still, to this day, overrate AAA games over indie titles. I know, it's like shooting yourself in the foot, robbing yourself of the more creative, interesting, innovative ideas that the larger games end up stealing years later. I did try Hollow Knight, but briefly. I put it down after a couple of hours. It had nothing to do with the game. I wasn't really committed to playing it, I just wanted to see what all the hype was about. Enter Hollow Knight Silksong, finally released after years and years of Twitch chats being flooded with hype during Summer Games Fest and Game of the Year award shows. Nearly 600,000 concurrent players on Steam. This is the rising tide I needed to pick me up and sweep me into playing Silksong. And let me tell you, this game is dark. Darker than I ever expected. This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. This is my old chair. I sit in this thing at least 8 hours per day playing games, editing for videos. No wonder my back hurts. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty tall. So the good folks at FlexiSpot sent me the C7 Max, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. The first thing I noticed is how sturdy and how much better the material feels on this chair. The memory foam cushion in particular is just so much comfier. And look at this. The built-in footrest flips out and I can recline all the way back when I'm done working and ready to chill. But when I need to lock in on what I'm playing, the lumbar support makes sure I'm not straining my lower back. Check this out. These are 5D armrests, which swing forward for mouse and keyboard players or backwards for normie controller users like myself. So far, I've been loving the C7 Max. The difference is actually night and day for me, especially for my butt. The best part is FlexiSpot has a 10-year warranty and a 30-day return-free policy, so you can try it for yourself and decide risk-free. Use my code C750 to get $50 off in the description below. If you have a limited budget, the C5 chair also has good build quality with basic adjustment features too. FlexiSpot just launched their new C7 Morpher, which features a complete upgrade to the lumbar support and upper backrest. Check it out using my link in the description below. And thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. I haven't beaten Silksong yet, despite putting over 24 hours in so far. To put it simply, I kind of suck at it. I've got that problem where my hands don't do what I want them to do.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
I see what's coming, but I don't have any built-up muscle memory or instincts for it, and then I'm incredibly impatient. If I've already beaten an enemy, I'm zooming right past them to get to where I died. If my years of experience with From Software games have taught me anything, it's to ignore the trash mobs and head straight for the real threat. Then again, Silksong is hard as f*** and kind of bullshit at times. You know the route you end up running over and over again from the respawn point to the boss? I don't know what the official term is called, but I like to call it a boss run. This game has some of the worst boss runs of any video game I've ever played. And yes, I have played the Dark Souls games. I've lost count of how many times I've thought this is complete bullshit and turned off the game to go walk my dogs. Whoever designed this stupid cog jumping puzzle is sick in the head and needs to be examined. When I finally beat this, I threw my controller down in a weird mix of triumph and exhaustion, which caused me to fall all the way back to where I started and do it all over again. So then I started punching my couch like the apes in 2001: A Space Odyssey. This is when it hit me. I'm really mad at this game. I could actually say f*** it and stop playing entirely. Fuck is that bullshit? Fuck that bullshit. Fuck that. Then it reminded me of all those times I hit that point in From Software's games. When you hit your head against the wall enough times that you need to step back, take a break, take a breather. That's the game telling me, go do a side quest, try another route, go explore and get upgrades so you can make this thing easier. That's the sensible thing to do, right? But the truth is, Silksong makes you suffer. It wants you to suffer. This is a story about a bug who was kidnapped and brought to a crumbling kingdom under some strange curse. It's full of bugs making a pilgrimage to a holy citadel where their fate is to die. You can find their bodies everywhere. This is a world that is full of darkness. The most common colors you'll find are grays and blacks. Sometimes you'll find the only light is the one that follows Hornet through a level. There are glimmers of hope, small moments where the game reminds you that it's not all gloom and doom. The cast of NPCs are just a delight every time you see them. They're bouncing up and down, sharing their often optimistic view of this world. I especially love the Bell Beast. When you get the needle in, you can play it for him and he'll purr like this. Little moments like this, they just brighten everything. For a game with no cutscenes or spoken word, Silksong has some incredible writing, and it does so much with so little. It's so efficient, there's very little real estate to have these characters speak and interact back and forth, but with just a few tiny sound effects and animations, these characters are bursting to life with personality. This is not something I expected to resonate with me, but there's so much emotion from these tiny little moments. My personal favorite is Pavo in Bellheart. Just look at this guy bouncing around and singing. He's incredible. The towns have music that swells into a lovely tune. It just makes you feel safe when you need that feeling. Still, the most powerful feeling is beating that boss or that encounter that you've been stuck on for an hour. That rush will never get old to me. And then there's finding a bench in a new area that you don't have a map for, realizing that you can rest easy knowing your rosaries and shards are safe for now. And what makes these moments of relief so satisfying is that struggle. It's knowing you overcame some difficult challenge that made you grind your teeth and scream at the top of your lungs. It's all worth it because you won. You overcame it. But like every game where dying is a core part of the experience, you're immediately thrust into the next challenge. Sitting and enjoying your victory is such a brief and fleeting feeling. There's always another boss or jumping puzzle or gauntlet right around the next corner. Silksong makes you suffer by making you feel lost. I don't know about you, but I don't like being lost. In a video game, in real life in general. It's an empty, hollow feeling, no pun intended, knowing that I don't know where I am. Wandering into a new area without a map, it makes me feel on edge, uncomfortable. Facing new enemies with attack patterns that I've never seen before, it's inevitable that I'm going to lose all those beads I've saved up for that new tool that I want. And so I've developed a devil-may-care attitude when venturing into these new areas. I think you have to, otherwise you're just plain scared. But that's what this game wants. You have to buy a map to see where you are. You have to buy the ability to chart your own movements on the map. And most hilarious of all, you have to buy and equip a compass to track yourself. Being lost in this world is such a brilliant design choice. It's very effective, and I can't help but appreciate it despite how it makes me feel. However, the more I play Silksong, the lack of direction feels frustrating to me. I can appreciate making me feel lost, but when I'm just trying to figure out where to go next to advance the story, and I've tried like 2 or 3 different routes, that is when it feels unnecessarily annoying and punishing. To me, that comes down to the zone design. It feels like a maze. The way these levels are constructed is incredible. It's never how I expect it to be. Navigating through Greymoor is completely different from the Citadel, which is completely different from the Mosslands. And that's how it should be. But it doesn't need to be this confusing. I got stuck trying to leave a new area that I found for like 30 minutes to an hour. I literally could not find a path back to the rest of the game. I was stuck. There were no bellways, no bell beast fast travel spots. I love the variety, the fact that it always keeps me on my toes, but some of the levels are convoluted to the point that I had to look up a video on how to exit the area, and I hate that. I never want to do that. It's a shame because visually, these levels are incredible to look at. They're really amazingly crafted. And then there's the gameplay. You die over and over and over and over again. Well, at least I do. The absolute worst feeling in this game is entering a room that closes on both sides. Then the encounter music starts playing and you're like, oh, okay, I'm about to die. Waves of enemies spawn, and each time you think you've defeated the last wave, of course there's another. And it keeps going. I spent a lot of my time trying to find the shortest route between these rooms and the nearest bench because I know I'm gonna die. Because if I'm gonna bang my head against a wall, I'm gonna make it slightly easier on myself. What's really surprised me about Silksong is how much the gameplay evolves from the very start. At the beginning, all you can do is jump and attack. No wonder the first few zones are full of enemies who can only crawl towards you. Now in the Citadel, I can leap off of walls, float through the air, cross gaps with a dash, and even harpoon across these rings. These unlocks come over time and at such a brilliant pace, and they change the way that I fight and move and everything. This feels like a core element of the Metroidvania genre that wouldn't have surprised me if I played more of these kinds of games. But nonetheless, I think the execution here is just perfection. It truly does keep you engaged hour after hour. I keep thinking back to all of the early game zones with areas that I couldn't reach. Now I absolutely can, and that's a really incredible feeling. And it would be a mistake to not mention how good everything feels. The tactile controls, the fact that holding the jump button for an extended period of time extends your jump. I know exactly what angle Hornet will grab the edge of a surface and when she will miss it. I know how much height I get when I do a downward attack in order to get a jump off of an object. All of these things are consistent and they feel incredible, and that's something I remember hearing about Hollow Knight but never experiencing for myself. They feel so good in Silksong, and that's really the glue, I think, that makes this gameplay feel so satisfying. Without a doubt, though, the best thing about Silksong is its boss fights. These are some of the most creative, innovative, just hard enough to make you struggle, but not completely impossible fights that I've ever played. I've run across bosses that I've managed to beat in a single try and felt awesome about it, and others that have made me want to jump into the cogwheels over and over again. No matter what, each has several phases with new mechanics each time to keep you on your toes. Slowly, as you learn the fight, the earlier phases get easier. And after several tries, you're nailing them without getting hit once to prepare for the actual challenge. You keep pushing past the next phase, only to find that there's another one after that. The way it strikes that balance between making me scream my head off and still feeling motivated to beat it and win, it's incredible. I'm also so impressed with how many bosses there are. It feels like each zone has several of them, and a lot of them are just optional. You don't have to do them. But there's only one boss I've come across where I've been like, no, I'm not doing this. Savage Beastfly, you know who you are. Each presents a unique challenge, and I love all the boss encounter designs. The animation, the music, everything about these is still the reason I'm playing Silksong. This game is really testing my patience, but for the boss fights, it's worth it. I know the Soulsborne genre didn't invent this kind of experience. It's probably the Metroidvania games that did. But as a normie AAA gamer for the most part, I can't help but compare how this game makes me feel to the Souls games. Those games make you suffer. Truly bang your head against the wall and grind and struggle and push until you finally overcome the challenge. Ever since Silksong came out last week, I've seen so many people talk about this game's difficulty. Speaking for myself, this is absolutely one of the most difficult games I've ever played. It's testing my patience in a way I did not expect and has pushed me several times to just put the game down out of frustration. In fact, I had wanted to beat the entire game and make a proper review for it. That's what this video was supposed to be. But I know that's going to take me a lot longer because that's what Silksong requires. It demands that you be patient, find those upgrades, and practice until you are a well-oiled machine that makes no mistakes. To beat Silksong will be an absolute triumph for me. Not even kidding. I'm just not there yet. But I wanted to make this video now after spending so much time on the game because it's very clear to me that Silksong is about suffering. I have no doubt this will be in the running for my game of the year. It's just that kind of experience for me. But I'm at a point where I can't tell if I love it or if I hate it. I know on the other side, once I have beaten it, it'll be clearer and I'll look back on my experience fondly. I do know that I appreciate the hell out of this game. If you were to point to any single game as being the case for video games or art, I think Silksong is the perfect example for that. This is such a competent, well-crafted, and unrelenting video game. Although it's beaten me down and demanded a lot from me, God, do I appreciate it. I also wanted to talk about Silksong because I think it's so incredible how many people care about an indie game that costs $20. So many of the best games of this year are indie games that don't cost full retail price. I honestly can't believe this video game is this cheap. For the experience you get, the amount of hours and the quality of that time. It's such a value. This game is packed with content. I did not expect to be playing this for more than 20 hours, but I'm very glad that I am. And when I finally do roll the credits, I know I will feel the insane rush of joy that comes with overcoming the challenge. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Silksong is not a game that I usually would talk about, but you know what? We're trying something new. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to like the video. I'd really appreciate it. Also, sub to the channel for more videos like this and ring that bell so you don't miss my next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will talk to you next time.